Y'all, today we need to talk about the crazy, mysterious history of astral magic in the spiral and why I think we're about to see a whole lot more of it. I've been thinking about astral magic a lot, right? In the most recent major update, we found a way to weave into one of any other secondary school out of the main 7 that we started with. And I think now that they've laid down the blueprint for all this weaving stuff, the next logical step is to flesh out astral magic. Now, this is something they haven't done in years, but I feel like there's a lot of in-universe lore that could already serve as a stepping stone to do some crazy stuff. So let's talk about astral magic, right? Using our most recent example, the creator of the Moon School himself, Kanzu. Until Selenopolis came out, it seemed to be assumed that astral magic originated in Celestia. But not only did we find out that Kanzu wasn't even from Celestia like any of the other original Celestians, right? They were all outsiders. We also found that the way he used Moon School was very, very weird. He used technology to change someone at an organism level. It was all very, very scientific, meaning he didn't really create Moon School. He harnessed it using technology. And what's even crazier is this isn't even the first time the Wiz has implied that astral magic is from some outside source from the world that it's actually learned in. Zafaria does this in a really, really cool way. If you guys remember the quest from all those years back, and Yago White Stripes literally clues you in on the weirdly tangential history that astral magic has in Zafaria. He brings up that Morgant once brought in some kind of star magic artifact from the cosmos, basically probably in her thirst for power. But it wasn't just Morgant that was able to access something from outside of Zafaria when it came to astral magic. Apparently during dark times, the kings of old, they brought down the solar obelisk, and that's what actually ends up being a part of our quest to learn the colossal spell. And as if all of that wasn't enough, we get an even more in-your-face example because we actually see age-old artifacts, according to the actual NPC that says this, in Azteca using astral magic. Right, when we first encountered these obelisks, it's very obvious that these are not Celestian obelisks. These seem to definitely be based on Aztecosaur magic, Aztecosaur architecture, whatever it might be. It really shows that astral magic can exist outside of Celestia. I think easily the best example of the fact that astral magic is not Celestian is in Chrysalis. You look at things like the Radiance Reborn artifact, the Solar Arc, the Moon Tower, the Eclipse Tower, right? These are all gigantic things that originated in Chrysalis, somehow using and fueled by astral magic. All of these things beg the question, where did these things originate and how does a wizard get there so we can learn from maybe a more pure form of astral magic? Now, I do think it's kind of bad storytelling on Wiz's part that they only really did this for Arc 2. I think it's very obvious, right? A lot of Arc 2 is, surrounded by Morgant's quest for power, and it all starts with her, thirst for astral power. She actually comes to Chrysalis specifically to learn astral magic, ends up figuring out about the existence of shadow magic, and then her shadow magic corrupts all of the artifacts in Chrysalis, which ends up being something that the wizard has to fix years down the line. Right, but that doesn't change the fact that these are all places that were influenced by some sort of maybe some entity that could be called upon. Maybe it's something something in space that you could connect with. Who the hell knows? I think there's something out there that we have yet to see, and Celestia is probably just the closest to it because it was just the most technologically evolved, right? The stuff that Kanzu used, I think it was able to so completely use moon magic just because it was so advanced, but that doesn't tell us about the origin of the magic at all. Now, why do I think this is important, right? I think that the next plot, we very much know that there's something about an Earthborn that's not us, but also in the spiral, following a dark-ass path. And it seems to me anyways, I don't know if y'all agree with this, interpretation, but I feel like in Arc 2 specifically, when Morgant was more of that dark figure that we were all chasing after, it really seemed to me that us actually using astral magic was a way for light to fight shadow. And I think this idea of light and shadow, we saw it throughout, right? We saw the Council of Light, which is, I think, very poignant. It's Merle Ambrose with a bunch of stars on his robe and hat. He's heading the Council of Light against a force of darkness. Right, I think they very intentionally made shadow magic a little opposed to light magic, and light magic is basically just astral magic. And to me, I'm wondering, do we have to go even further than we did to defeat Morgant, to defeat whoever this dark Earthborn is? I think one clue that I never really looked at until I made this video is that Kanzu was scared of this person, right? They were willing to fight us one of the Earthborns, but whatever the other Earthborn was doing, they were scared. I'm wondering, is it because they were so infused in dark energy, such shadowy magic, that someone that's using light-based magic like Moon couldn't possibly hope to compete? And to me, what that means is that we might have to go even further into astral magic to actually pose a fight against this person when we eventually fight them. Now, as far as where this could be, I feel like they have not put too many clues out where astral magic could have ever come from. I think the fact that they've even revisited the history of Celestia shows that their story isn't done yet. But I will say this. I would love if they could do something really, really cool with the world of Yago. But basically, right, when the Tower of Helfin first dropped, there was like a really, really weird piece of dialogue that has yet to be fleshed out since then. But I think what happens in the Tower of Helfin is just like what happened in Zafaria, maybe what happened in Azteca to summon those artifacts there to begin with. The actual elephant in this tower was summoned from the star fields of a world called Yago. Now, they made this before astral magic was really even a thing, but not, it was in the game when the Tower of Helfin came out. It could very well be that they were planning on Yago being some place where we could learn astral magic and never got around to it because I guess they had other ideas for other worlds in the Morganth arc. But I'm really wondering if they're gonna bring this back simply off of the star fields thing. The only other reference that comes to mind is the Stargater, which is brought up very like in a very small way, like almost indirectly in the Catacombs quest. But that NPC almost seems like some sort of like urban myth. Like, you know, I don't even know if that's like something that has the legs, like at least a real mention of a world like Yago. But to me, it would be really, really cool if they did something where we revisited in Yanga, you know, Testcat, all these people in these previous worlds that somehow were able to access astral magic to learn more about it, especially if there really is this factor where we need to know it in order to beat our, I guess, Earthborn counterpart that's dark magic, that's just dark compared to us. I think it would be cool. Obviously, it would also just set the stage for us just learning more stuff with astral magic. I think it's just been in a weird spot, right? They've added all of these auras and harmful aura counters and star magic adjacent things to various schools, namely, I would argue, Death, Storm, and Life. And I think they're trying to make those the star schools, which really means that the Moon and Sun schools, if they want to classify 3 schools at a time like those, right, they're gonna have to have something as well. And I feel like it's really hard to like work with enchants and polymorphs, because that's like all we really have from all of our interactions with astral magic so far. So it almost feels like we need exposure to new forms of sun magic, new forms of moon magic. I think a new world that's tied into the storyline, I think would be a great way to make us learn new stuff and also just, you know, build on the universe of astral magic. But let me know what y'all think. Do you guys think there is some place out there where astral magic originates that's just not Celestia? Or how else would you explain all these crazy astral magic related things happening in all of these worlds, especially in Arc 2? And do you guys think that we could learn more of this type of stuff? And do you think it'll be important in the next arc of Wiz? I'd love to hear all of y'all's thoughts on the Wiz lore. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Leave a sub if you're new. And as always, if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome, y'all. See y'all soon. And yeah.